Hello, we are Geeks Assembled, and today we are gathered to discuss an episode of a cult British comedy show which ran from, I think it was 1968 to 1977. Of course, it's Dad's Army, as you can tell behind Susan there. Dad's Army, and the episode we are discussing is from season 6 from 1973. And the episode is called The Honourable Man. This one was picked by our co-host, who's not here today, Alid, because of his mother appeared in this as an extra.
Point at the nun.
As a nurse.
Jake, point at the nun. No, the other one. That one. Yeah.
Yes, that.
Oh, it's Mom.
So that's why this one was picked, just as in memory of his mother, who sadly passed just recently. So our heart goes out to Alid and his family. So shall we get on with this now? Shall we talk Dad's Army, The Honourable Man?
Yep.
I'll just give you a history about it's a story about the home guard, who used to protect the coast of Britain during the war, because all the young men had gone to war. So everybody who was in Britain was older, the old generation. This is why the cast are all the old folks, and that's why it's called Dad's Army.
It's the ones who served in World War I were
recommissioned for the Second World War to protect the coastline of Britain against Hitler and his hordes.
The tips of the cliffs of Dover were protected.
And so this series was written by Croft and Perry, was it Perry? I can't remember his name now. Croft. Yeah, they've written loads of things. How you've been served and stuff like that. So this one is a big British comedy series. So we'll go over to Susan Backstrom first.
Okay. So this was a great little episode. It was a story of the sergeant. Hang on a second, Sergeant Wilson.
My namesake.
Yeah, he got a big honor through a death. His father passed away, or his uncle passed away, and so he was sort of moved up from the commoners into the ranks of the peerage, and became an honorable man. And that's a big deal, because apparently in England, everyone is always waiting to be raised up into the peerage, to appear in the book, and Roger's peerage or something like that, and then to be given honors by your city and your county and things like that. And I'm sure that Lee and Jake here are just waiting for someone in their family to die so they can be raised into the peerage. But
Jake wants to be queen.
All right. Well, that's great. So
there'll be an opening eventually.
What happens is all of his buddies start to either envy him or super condescend to him, and so that's fun. And then it gets worse. He's gonna get he's gonna help honor a Russian attaché from the War Office to come to their little city, their little town, their little village, and present him with the key to the village. And the Soviet is well, anyway, he's not really amused, so that goes kind of awry, because he wants to give it to the workers, because he calls all of the soldiers and all the people in the stands, everyone in the city, in the town, basically, the bourgeoisie, which in the Communist Party is really gross. So that's the story. The Russian ends up honoring Sergeant Wilson, and Sergeant Wilson and receives the key actually, but he's the one who is just raised up, so it all doesn't make any sense because the Russians don't even like the aristocrats, but because of how dirty he is after a car accident, I mean, it's just funny. It's just funny at that point. And at many other points. And right behind Jake's head is a nun who is waiting in line for the celebration with the Russian, and it is the one closest to us is played by our co-host mom, who passed away recently. So that's the whole story. I enjoyed it. I laughed. I was like, oh my gosh, so many times, and that's fun. And it's got a great cast. So yeah, that's the opening bit.
Thank you, Susan. We'll go to the other Susan now.
This is my favorite part. I love this part.
We love a copyright strike.
Yeah.
I just love it. Okay, wait. Who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler? If you think that is it England's on the run. I just thought it was so cute. That was my favorite part. This is not downplay the series. I did not know that there was. Well, I'm watching it thinking, gosh, this reminds me of Are You Being Served? And now I know why. I mean, I knew it was British comedy. I didn't know it was the same writer. I thought the two guys, the one to either side of Susan, the two lead characters, the one that was honored at the end, the one that's got the coffee cup, and then the other one with the coffee cup on the other side of her, they kept going at each other the whole episode. I just kept thinking, get a room, people. Honest to God, I mean, the sexual tension there was palpable, and I'm like, dudes, just get a room. But it was fun. I liked it. And the end, when the guy shows up, and the only reason the Russians liked him is because he looked like a worker because he was dirty. That was funny. But I really love the theme song. It's fabulous. So, what do you think you are doing, Mr. Hitler? It's just good to walk around singing that. That was my favorite. That was actually my favorite part of the whole thing. But I think it's fun. If I saw this on Amazon Prime in the middle of the night, I'd start streaming it. I mean, that doesn't sound like a good recommendation, but there are very few things I stream in the middle of the night because it has to be of a certain ilk. One of them is Are You Being Served? All of Doctor Who, some of Star Trek, things that are, I know will, but I would watch this if I saw it, that it was available to me. But no, I had never heard of it before, and now I'm never going to get, are you doing, Mr. Hitler?
So speaking of Doctor Who, Bill Pertwee, John Pertwee's brother, is in this too.
Oh, really? Is he in the picture behind you?
His cousin it is. His cousin.
Is he in the picture behind you? No?
No, he's not. He played the air raid warden, Hodges.
I also like the fact that the theme song is sung by an old dude. So that's just
Bud Flanagan.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Who played it? Yeah, he recorded that just before he passed away as well. Bud
Who was it? Who was it again?
Bud Flanagan.
And should I know him from somewhere else? Is he?
Well, he used to be in a duo, Flanagan and Allen, underneath the arches. All wartime singers they were.
Oh well, it's brilliant. I love it. So
Okay.
no, it's brilliant. I'm glad I got a chance to see it because I'd never heard of it before. And I think it's really cool that Ellen's mom is in it, and here she is in the whole cast up close and personal. And thank you, Ellen's mom, and God bless you. And anyway, that's it. So I think it's a cool series for Americans who like British comedy to investigate.
True. That is so true. Jake.
I'm at a bit of a disadvantage compared to Susan and Lee because, like Susan, I'm not really familiar with the characters or the series. I'm not someone who struggles. I'm someone who struggles with comedy because of autism, but I did find some of this very funny because it sort of reminded me ways of how my granddad was, in the way he would react to things, especially the bloke in charge. And but I couldn't really understand what was going on because I didn't really understand the characters very well. But I did try as much as I could to understand. But I can see why it's got such a big fan following. I'm sure if I started at the beginning, that I'd be as in love with it as Lee and Susan are. But yeah, that's my opening thoughts.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that, Jake. Yeah. Of course, I've got the full set.
Oh my
as well.
God, you have the whole thing of Dad's Army.
Oh yes.
Did you have it
You named
before? Or did
You
you just
named
get it for this cast?
No, I've had it a few years.
Wow. It
You know,
reminds me kind of like MASH.
oh yeah, there's how many
Wow.
series? There was 9 series in total,
Wow.
and a movie, and
Wow.
and there was a fairly new movie about 3 years ago as well, a remake that wasn't very good. Yeah, just the characters in this. I mean, you've got Captain Mannering, played by Arthur Lowe. He thinks he's rather pompous. He thinks he's better than anybody else in his group of entourage. Then you've got Sergeant Wilson, you know, quite posh, and Mannering doesn't like that. You know, they always clash, and they say. Then you've got Fraser, who's in his daytime job. He owns a funeral thingy, so you know that's what, and he's always going, we're doomed. You've got Corporal Jones, who was a butcher, and the running joke was that he was always having a bit on the side with Mrs. Fox, and he was always giving her an extra sausage with the rations. You know, there was things like that. There was Walker, played by James Beck, who was a bit of a, you know, you could get your silk stockings if you wanted silk stockings during the war, sort of thing. And Pike, the daft lad Pike, you stupid boy. You know, it was all that entourage is just a classic thing. Everybody in Britain knows this. You know, they know Mannering, they know Wilson, they know Corporal Jones. As I say, they know Hodges, the area warden, played by Bill Pertwee, who always came up against Mannering and used to call him Napoleon all the time. But it's a good episode, but for me personally, it's not one of the best out of all the whole series, but it was good to watch an episode what I haven't seen for a while, and it's similar to all the other episodes. It is Mannering against, because Mannering always sort of comes off worse than everybody else in these episodes, so. It was good to watch this. So, any favourite moments? So let's go back to Susan B.
So I guess my favorite moment was when I can't decide. I liked it when the town was gathered and that whole thing. You know, they're getting ready and they're playing in order to honor the Russian. They played "Oh Christmas Tree, Oh Christmas Tree." That was like funny, like thinking that it's because they're playing a German song that they'd be honoring a Russian. That was just hilarious. And then I also liked it when they're sitting there looking at when the solicitor's there and they're looking through the book and stuff and like just know, and that was pretty funny. And yeah, so there are a few really choice, hilarious moments. Is the call done?
Yeah, that call's done.
Okay. Well, so yeah, and it is. If you come back to Alex, he might give you his. So
Okay.
just go around and come back to him.
We'll go to the t'other Susan.
I basically have said just about everything that I know to say about this, to be honest. I've never seen it that much.
Just sing us the theme song again.
Oh, what do you think that you're doing, Mr. Hitler? That's my favorite part.
But she needs to learn the words first, folks.
Blah 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 blah. Well, you can't get copyright trouble because of that. So there you go. But no,
No. Especially when you don't sing the right words.
blah 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 blah.
Jake, my boy.
I'm in the same boat as Susie, to be honest. I can't really speak about what my favourite moment was because I'm not really familiar with the series as a whole. And I'm not going to rate it either because I don't think it's fair to me to rate something in one episode and I'm not really familiar with the whole cast or anything.
No, I don't know either. I imagine
I'm not
it's
going
good.
to sing the theme tune. So,
Why not?
because I don't want to. Even though I do know the words.
Alex is back. Alex is back. Shall we get hold of Alex?
Yeah, some people, I remember another group of people said that I acted like one of the characters on that show.
Which one?
Oh, I can't remember. But they said that they knew it. I guess it's like the guy that's too polite or whatever. He doesn't swear most of the time. He's not like the other ones that they swear and all that.
Talking about Sergeant Wilson,
Maybe.
the one who was honored.
Yeah. I mean, the animation's interesting. The song is cute, I guess. I'm not quite sure where the show was going though. I have to admit, I did like some of the jokes. I did actually like the music, but I was kind of like, I'm not sure where they're going, because it started reminding me of, and I don't know if it's because it's the same writers. It reminded me of Are You Being Served a little bit, and a little bit of Police Academy, but of course they couldn't add as wild as those as those movies are. But basically the same idea, which is that's what humor is supposed to be. I don't think would ever be liked like Hogan's Heroes is liked. But then again,
that's not fair. Because
that's
that's
been
not fair. People in Britain apparently love this show. It was on for 9 freaking seasons.
Yeah.
Alex, you just scared Lee
I
away.
know.
Yeah,
No, but I
don't
mean,
say that. Maybe
no,
not
I mean,
to Americans,
yeah.
but to Britain.
No, and I admit Hogan's Heroes is a lot more gimmicky than Dad's Army is. A lot more catchphrases and all that stuff. But I mean, they still play it. I'm like, how old is this show? They still play it in America. I'm like, what the heck? So I don't know if Dad's Army would ever catch on. I guess they did a reboot movie or whatever. They did a modern version, which even I was kind of like, yeah, I would rather watch a show than this movie.
But I like the movie, but we're talking about the Honourable Man. What's your favorite moment from that?
No, I mean it's I like the. For some reason, I liked it when they were practicing like how they would greet the clapping and all that. I was like, yeah, but they already did this in Are You Being Served? Wasn't it like when the Queen was supposed to come, and even though they practiced it, they missed her or whatever? So I mean, again, I think they had one of the writers that moved on to Are You Being Served, didn't they?
Yeah.
No, they both did it. Croft and Perry, they both did it at the same time. But
yeah,
you've got to realise Dad's Army and Are You Being Served was literally sort of running at the same time on TV.
Yeah, so it's almost like Barney Miller and Night Court. It's the same school, not exactly the same, but the same school of thought. Yeah, so I don't know. I'd have to watch like 6 episodes, I guess. I've tried to watch like 4. It hasn't caught on yet, but I guess somebody did like it if it ran for 9 seasons. I mean, no, it just hasn't caught on. Maybe because I don't feel like I know the characters. Maybe
if you started watching an episode here or episode there, you'd mostly get to know them more and like them more, shall we say?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if this was, what is it? It ran from what, 68 to
79.
79? Wow, that's a long time. Yeah, I mean, if you know, I mean, again, how many? There's not too many army shows. So over here, what is it? It's Hogan's Heroes and Gomer Pyle
And MASH.
and MASH, and that's pretty much the only shows that they have about the army. I mean, MASH lasted for 11.
But this is more
So-
like this is more like Golden Girls for the guys.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, there's only so many. Yeah, there's only so many
It is
situations
about
you
the
could make.
geezers. It is.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many, scenarios that you can do. But I mean, it's funny how, you notice with all sitcoms, especially English ones, it also depends on the producer, the writer, and what decade they were in.
Hmm.
And the more,
These two,
yeah,
these two basically ran all of the comedy in the UK at the time. That was hilarious.
What?
Yeah, true.
what the two writers?
Yeah.
What did they write?
Croft and Perry.
Did they write Porridge and
No, that was Ian Lafreniere, Dick Lafreniere and Ian. Oh, I
Yeah.
can't remember. I'm no good with names.
and what was the Man About the House? That wasn't them, right? That whole series, that turned into three.
Man About the House wasn't BBC.
Oh, that was ITV. Okay, so that's the other thing too. That in the 70s too, Americans stole a lot of British sitcoms.
Yeah, that was the
that
rip-off
got remade.
generation.
Yeah,
The British invasion.
FTV.
I'm surprised they didn't attempt Dad's Army. In some
There wasn't a home front in the
no, in some sort. No, I mean change it and twist it in some sort of way to suit the American.
Well,
Huh.
we had MASH.
Yeah, because of Vietnam and all that, they probably didn't want to do too many.
Yeah, we were screwing up in various.
Yeah,
We had MASH. That was
Yeah,
probably the closest thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't have the respect for that wasn't a, there was a lot of disrespect for soldiers and military because Vietnam was so unpopular. So they wouldn't have made a lot of sitcoms.
Translate a shit show.
Yeah, they wouldn't have. They wouldn't have made too many TV shows because even MASH is still criticized for a lot of the jokes that they did for a second or whatever.
We do need a show about the old guys sitting around
Well,
trying to defend something. That would be great.
well, they did have Major Dad.
Basically, Cheers.
No, they had Major Dad. Major Dad was popular for a little while, but they didn't do a lot about his job. They mostly did like
His home life.
yeah. So I mean there was other ones, but they're also if they do anything about the military, it's like NCIS or
the
whatever.
young people, right?
Hmm?
With young people in it.
Like what?
That's the cast, not a bunch of people in
they
in their 70s.
Yeah, they wouldn't. Well, they had China Beach. I guess that was like the woman's version of Men.
Oh yeah, that was a good show. I like
So
that.
they've done it, but they've been a little nervous about it because I think they're worried that if it goes really badly, the network will lose a lot of money.
So now we are soliciting a Dad's Army type show.
No, I don't.
We
think
want
so.
some geezers on TV doing fun stuff.
Ed Asner. Let's cast it right now. Ed Asner. Who else should we cast?
It's a pity Alan's not here because he knows how to solicit. It's
Oh my gosh, getting another Jagger in there, eh?
He's gonna get you for that one.
So let me ask you a question here. What do you guys think is the reason why the show lasted for so long? Is it because it was a nice tribute? Was it enough characters and situations? Why? Because America's so scared of talking about war and things like that. Why do you think it would work in England and it wouldn't? Would it be just World War II? Or is it just that the writing was so good and it caught the imagination?
I think we've said this before. I think we've said this before on other comedy things we've done. British comedy is more character character led. You get to know the characters more. It's um, American comedy. It's not so much. You feel, you get, you feel for the characters. You think you feel like you know them. We've said it before, haven't we? I can't remember which other cast it was now. But I think it's the writing. It's different. It's different style. The British and American comedy writing is totally two different styles of writing.
I agree with what Lee's saying, because in a way, it's kind of like they live with you, because you get to know them so well. It's like their family, in a way. It's sort of like what classic Doctor Who is, in a way. It's always like on your TV, so you start to get to know them. You got personality. They become family members in a way, because they're always there, sort of thing. That's what I think about Dad's Army, in a way. It's like they're likable and played by really good actors that can carry these likable roles in a way.
It comes down to the style of writing. If without the writing, you wouldn't get the characters, you wouldn't get to know the characters. So it all goes back to base one, the writing, and that's where the big difference is between the American and British comedy, in my opinion. Because I've always said some American comedy, I do struggle sometimes with it. And Alex will say as well, he prefers British humour to.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of shows that I like Night Court, Barney Miller, Cheers. There's a few others, but this is the thing that unfortunately, and this is one of the problems, and they did sort of rip off Steptoe and Son, became Sanford and Son, and all this, and there's a big. I don't know if it's because they're scared or they're worried about it, but the American comedy is a lot more like the Three Stooges. It's a lot more gimmick based. It's a lot more slapstick. It's a lot more caricature. It's a lot more, especially in the 70s, it was getting a little tiresome with all the, catchphrase upon catchphrase.
Don't call me Shirley.
I know, no, but that's a movie. That's a movie, Susie. That's different. So, it's not that it wasn't good, but it's different. And the shows that lasted a long time, they did eventually develop the character. But I think it starts out in most of them very kind of cartoonish, very kind of, I'm going to be like Daffy Duck is one way and Bugs Bunny is another, even though he's ripping off Groucho Marx a little bit. But the thing is, too, then in the 80s and the 90s, people got too critical of, you're doing too many serious topics like, kidnapping and child molestation. And they were trying to be more serious. But then, like I said, the networks got scared that they might scare away the viewers. So it's tough to do a really serious but really funny. And then they're worried about, is this going to offend everybody? And now they've done this again with, it's got to be politically correct, where they overdo it by saying, well, you said a naughty word, so now it's hateful, when they don't even consider, well, how, is the character just saying the word because he's ignorant and he can't think of another word? Like Mel Brooks will say in Blazing Saddles, that he's using the N-word to show how ignorant the people are, or is it out of, hate? And the problem is they're so nervous that it sort of limits the characters. And then the problem is then you have the other shows that have been big for the last 20, 30 years, Friends, and Everybody Loves Raymond, and Big Bang Theory and all this, where they do more pop culture references and stuff like that, where I think a lot of the British audience wouldn't like tons and tons of Star Wars jokes all the time. I mean, it was getting so bad that I remember reading in TV Guide, they said, NBC, will you stop with the Star Wars jokes? And the Star Wars, right? You know what I mean? So I think the problem is they're so worried that it's gonna, I mean, there is good American sitcoms, but like Lee said, they're different. Like Family Ties is different, and other shows that they did. Even when they went to London, they were sort of making fun of, the English accent and the upper lip and all that stuff. So I think that's the other problem, is that the caricature or the stereotype is actually stronger in America than it is in England. I think England realizes you have to develop past that, whereas Americans are kind of, not that there isn't good comedy, but I think, you know, it's a lot more thin. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of depth to it, unfortunately.
Yeah,
And it's
I
a
love the
shame.
depth.
Oh, throw it back now.
Okay.
Yeah, the
What
depth
do you think, Susan W.?
I personally find a lot of depth in the Ministry of Silly Walks. It's that's an incredibly depth oriented one. And my favorite social commentary was I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. Or something. Yeah, those are really just character based, depth probing comedy that, you know, that is the emblematic of all British comedy ever written. Yeah. No, that's the only problem with this conversation. You're talking in extremes. And of course, there's fabulous British comedy, and then you've got, you know, what's up? Or some stupid catchphrase, right, that goes over and over. There's crap, and then there's populist crap, and then there's other stuff. And it happens in every single country. So, you know, I personally think that the Ministry of Silly Walks and the Dead Parrots are probably some of the finest moments of British cinema ever written.
No, I came in late. No, of course. I mean, even though I love British comedy, I have seen bad British comedies as well. But the thing is, you know, most of the time, 90% of the time, I really preferred over American. And it's also, you know, like Lee said, it's a different type of writing. And also, too, you know, you can tell if you really think about it. You know, it's also a shame because in America, they want everything to be like 2 words. How can you write a good comedy joke in 2 words or 3 words? That's very small pickings. You know what I mean? So it's not that I don't love it. It's just that, you know, when I think about it, when I see it, when I analyze it, I can say, yeah, 9 times out of 10, the British comedy is just written better. It's smarter. It's more cynical, and that helps with the humor. And then you don't have America going, oh, somebody complained because for 2 sentences of Saturday Night Live, they were critical of the president. It's like, it's a comedy. They're supposed to make fun of somebody. If you're too sensitive, then how can you make fun of anybody?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll watch it.
Yeah. I think as well, British comedy makes fun of themselves. You know, because it's always the Dad's Army. It's always levels of hierarchy. You know, Sergeant Wilson, Captain Mannering. It's always battles against the, you know, levels of that. As in American comedy, it's not. It's a strange thing. But it comes down to the writing, as we've said. Different style of writing, different societies. That's what it is. Seeing as Jake and Susan can't really rate this one.
I didn't say I as an episode, I thought it was fun. I'd give it an 8. So there you go.
Jake's refusing. He's doodling or something. He's looking down. He might be doing something else. I don't know. No, that's it. So, Susan and Alex, then, what would you give this?
Well, I would give it. I'd give it a 9.5. It was great fun, and I also like the fact that the guy who played Sergeant Wilson was in The Italian Job, and he was in.
Oh yeah, he's been in a few movies and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in. I think he was in the Raiders of the Lost Ark or
I mean,
Last Crusade or something.
no, he wasn't. No, he was dead by then.
Oh, okay.
All
right, so I'm incorrect, but I
if you saw if you saw the Vincent Price movie Theatre of Blood,
Yeah, for sure, we reviewed it.
Arthur, who plays Captain Mannering, was the one who had his head cut off.
Yeah, all right. All right, so 9.5. Here's Alex.
I'll give it a 7. I just don't know the show well enough, but obviously it has to be written well. If you have, how many actors are there in the picture? 9 or 7? But like I said, I prefer the other shows that I've seen, like the Man About the House and Fry and Laurie. I love their satire. Monty Python, of course, is almost the school, except for the comedians from the 30s and 40s and 50s. It's them, and then it's Monty Python, and almost everybody else, with the exception of Mel Brooks and Woody Allen. He had some good movies back in the 60s and 70s. That's basically what I view as sort of a comedy education. 30s, 40s with the black and white and the movies, and then you go to Spike Mulligan, was that his name? And then Monty Python, and then Benny Hill, and then you start going to, and I loved how Fry and Laurie, Monty Python, and Benny Hill, how they really, they sort of criticize things, but it wasn't just a catchphrase, cartoony thing. They really, some of it was a little cartoon, but it wasn't all cartoony. It wasn't all catchphrasey like we got here. That it was more, let's make fun of all the systems and all that. And that's where you can get, really good comedy and really good comedy that lasts. Whereas in American comedy, it seems to be more stereotype, caricature, cartoony, stereotypical. It's not all like that, but it seems like a majority of it is sort of more just one level. It doesn't go to 5. It doesn't go to, unless it's a movie. Spinal Tap was pretty good, I have to admit, but that had some British actors in it as well. It's tough. It's tough because I like a certain type of humor, but it has to be a very smart or a very deep satire, and I just think the Americans don't want to think that hard, so they're not going to do it in most cases. They'll make fun of a type of movie. That's where Mel Brooks has had to do, like, Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles. And
Did you have a score there, Alex?
what's that now?
Did you have a rating, Alex, a number?
Yeah, like I said, I'll give it a 7, only because I do like what they're trying to do. It's just a shame that I don't seem to connect with the characters, so kind of. Whereas the other stuff they wrote I liked better, like Are You Being Served and other. But some people found that too caricaturish after like the 5th episode. So maybe it's hard because, it's a different setting. An army base is a different setting than a department store.
Well, definitely, yeah. That's totally different. As I say, Jake. Hello, Jake.
Bye.
Just say a number from 1 to 10.
I'll give it an 8. Why not? It was a laugh. It's really well done. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. And I'm gonna give it a 7.5. It's not the best episode from the complete series, but this is the one what was picked because of what's gone on with Alid and his family. And as I said, he's not here today, but it's our heart goes out to him and his family with his his passing of his mother. And hopefully we'll be back with us next time. So you guys, thanks for discussing Dad's Army. It's always a pleasure when people turn up to these, because I'm surprised that they do. You guys out there, please leave a comment below. Let us know your favourite moments from Dad's Army or any other comedy. Let us know what you'd like us to discuss. Give us a thumb up, thumb down, subscribe to us, ding that bell.
Ding that bell.
Do you know, we'll have to have a theme there and put it on.
What do you think that you're doing, Mr.
Please, no. Hold on a minute.
There we go. Okay.
Oh. Hear me. And until we're on.
We have to survive the virus.
Yeah, we're surviving this virus. We're on lockdown. We're in this world of forever. So please come and join us because you've got nothing better to do. We haven't, and we're going crazy. So
And our little coronavirus cast is being well received on my LinkedIn profile.
oh, very nice.
Ooh. We're
So it has become my professional opus, actually.
Oh dear. We got a
I'm
problem.
sorry, Susan.
Oh, there's a
I'm
whole
really
heroes
sorry.
episode.
No, this is Dad's Army, and I'm the biddy in the shop.
Oh dear me. But thanks, guys, for joining us again. And until next time, well, stay safe. And look after other people. Spread the love, not the virus. See you next time. Bye bye.